Hey, what's up, guys? So, check this out. One of the most common questions I get asked by new real estate investors is, how much should I offer for a property? And this is a great question, and your number needs to be pretty tight because if it's not, what's going to happen is either you're not going to get any offers accepted, or B, you're going to get offers accepted, but then you're not going to be able to sell them because you have not built in enough margin. Either one of those scenarios doesn't work because you don't make any money, which totally sucks, right? So I want to help you avoid that by using a really simple calculator. In this calculator, you basically just put in ARV, square footage, a couple other numbers, and it's going to spit out a number and say, this is what you should be offering for this property. And you can get access to that calculator in the second link in the description. Now, the better link in the description is going to be the first one, and I'll tell you why. That's going to be a link to my Discord server. And in the Discord server, you're going to have access to not only the calculator, but other calculators and also scripts. And so those are going to be really great resources. But in addition to that, you're going to have access to the general chat where you can ask questions that you might have as a new investor. And you're going to get access to my free Wholesalers Blueprint training course. And this is a really good course. It's a high level course, but it's good for new investors who want to get into the business and don't really know where to start. So I hope to see you in there. Now, as always, I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion. If you find that you found some value in this video, I would love a like and I would love a subscribe. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so this is the max allowable offer calculator, and here's what I'd say. What I always do is every time I have a property I'm putting an offer in on, I will go to this calculator and I will make a copy. I will create a specific folder for that property, and any documents or offers or letters of intent or whatever for that particular property are going to go in that Google Drive folder. And that way I can always go back and say, where did I come up with this offer number? Like, where did this come from? Like, how did I get here? And I can always reference that. So I always like to make a copy and then save that in the folder specific to the property. So there's a couple things. The first thing I just want to mention is we're only going to edit the blue cells. Okay, so we're only going to edit these blue cells in here. And just kind of going through that, the first thing we want to do is we want to enter the property address. We want to get the square footage of the property and put that number here. This is really important because some of these formulas are pulling from the square footage, right? So if it's 2,000 square foot, it's going to change some of the numbers. So we need to make sure that we have the right square footage in there. We are going to put our ARV in this cell here. I'm not going to go into how to calculate ARV in this video. I will put my how to calculate ARV in a link in the description. You can watch that as well, but I'm not going to go into it in this video. You do need to know what the property will sell for after it's been updated. Okay, so this is one of the most common mistakes, I'll just say, that a lot of new investors make. They're like, how do I calculate what the property is going to sell for? You need to find an updated property in the area of the property you're looking at, and then find out what did that property sell for. And that's going to give you your ARV. It's got to be a similar property. There's some rules to that. Again, this is not the video for it, but that's how you're going to get that number, okay? Transaction cost. So this 92% number, the average cost across the United States to sell a property is 8%. That 8% is going to be real estate fees and closing costs. Okay, now you can move this number around and say maybe it's only going to be 94%, and that's going to move some transaction costs around. This number we're calculating is really going to be for the person we sell the property to. So when we wholesale it to somebody who's going to flip it, they want to know, like, how much am I going to walk? They want to know how much they're going to walk away with. And they're going to get to that number by taking the ARV and minusing the transaction costs on the sale side of it. So my suggestion, if you're new, is just keep this number at 92%. It's going to be 92% of the ARV on the property. Okay, so just leave it at the 92, and that's going to give you the actual number, the transaction cost of the sale. Okay, so it's going to be $250,000, but they're going to have to pay $20,000 in closing costs and commissions and stuff. The next thing is going to be this investor ROI. So how much does the investor, the person who is going to flip the property, how much money do they want to make, okay? And a good number to leave here is going to be 15%. A lot of guys who are flipping properties, they'll do it for less, and of course they want to make more, but this is going to be a great number because if your buyer and the person who's flipping the property can make 15% on the property. And just generally speaking, in most scenarios, they're going to be a good buyer for you. They're going to buy more properties. If they buy something from you and they only make 5% on it because maybe, you charged too much, they are not going to want to buy properties from you in the future. You want to create a good relationship where you make money and where they make money, and then they will become a very good buyer from you that, you can bring properties to in the future, and everybody wins. Okay. Creating a win-win relationship for you and your buyers. Investor ROI, this is just calculating 15% of the ARV. So, an investor is going to make on this property based on this scenario, $37,500. Now, if the investor is going to make 20%, then their ROI is going to be 50,000. Okay. So you can see how that works if I modify that number, but I would say if you're new, keep it at 15. The rehab price per square foot, you're going to reference this table down here. And basically what you're looking at is the condition of the property from 0 to 10. And then that's going to give you an estimated price per square foot of rehab cost. So if it's a 9 to 10, you basically just, clean up rehab, carpet and paint, maybe some small fixtures. This is a very light rehab. You're going to be somewhere between $12 and $14. And then, of course, as the property condition gets worse, going down into these cells, you can see that the price per square foot to rehab is going to go up. Here's the thing. Always be on the conservative side of this. If you're like, well, I think it could be between 30 and 45, just go with 45, right? Because rule number one in this business is don't lose money. And if you calculate this wrong, you are, you're going to lose money. So you'd be conservative in a, overestimating kind of way. And what you're going to do is, let's say this property is between a 7 and 8. I'm going to say we're going to use $25 per square foot. Now, these numbers, by the way, price per square foot, this is not for California. Okay, this is going to be for a lot of other markets, but this is definitely not going to be for California. It's going to be way more expensive to rehab a property, especially in SoCal. So this number is kind of moving a little bit, but it's a good starting point. Okay, so we say rehab cost per square foot $25. It's going to take our 2,000 square feet, multiply by 2,500, and it's going to tell me the rehab cost is going to be $50,000. Then we want to build in our fee. So what is the number that we want to make? Let's say it's 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever that number looks like. It's going to take all of this data and it's going to tell us our max allowable offer is going to be $127,500. And then of course it gives us the contract price, how much the buyer is going to have to spend to get the contract. Okay, what we're selling it for. So there we have it. That's our max allowable offer, the $132,500. Now, this is a really good way to kind of get your feet wet, understanding what kind of offer you're going to put in to, for a property. There are some other tools. I like to use Deal Check for the stuff that I do now. This is kind of where I started, and then now I use Deal Check. It's got a lot more inputs. But it can also be a little bit more confusing. The cool thing about Deal Check is that when you're working with properties that are, maybe it's going to be a burst strategy, or maybe it's going to be a long-term hold, or maybe it's a flip, you can put a bunch of inputs in there, and then what it will do is it will spit out a report and say, this is how much money you'll make now, this is how much money you'll make down the road. And that's also a really great tool if you're selling the property to somebody who's going to flip it and say, look, I've already ran the numbers. This is how much money you're going to make if you rehab this property, and it takes you 4 months or it takes you 6 months to do it. And that's a really great tool. It does cost money. I think it's like $29 per month. You get like 14 days free trial. But if you're writing a lot of offers and you're wanting to calculate ROI on stuff, it's a really great tool. I'll put a link for that in the description. But for somebody who wants something free, this is going to be a really great resource. Definitely start here, but also maybe check out the Deal Check link in the description as well, because there's going to be access to a lot more tools in there. And what I find, again, really cool about it is the reporting, especially if you're going to be raising money for a project you're going to do yourself. You can send that report to an investor, and it's going to go over all the numbers and make them feel comfortable with lending you money on the project. So that's it. Again, I hope you found some value in this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And that's it. You guys stay blessed and have a great day.